Go here. We have one more deceased in this bed. Appears to be a gunshot to the face. We got no.
A 15-year-old girl allegedly told her friend that a boy had threatened to kill her. Days later, she and her 9-year-old brother were found dead inside their home. Then detectives opened her phone. 2 children were home alone on a quiet summer afternoon in Gwynn Oak, Maryland. By the time their mother returned from work, both were dead. 15-year-old Giovanna Gigi was found in the hallway. Her 9-year-old brother, Steve Allen, was found in a bedroom. There was no stranger randomly roaming the neighborhood, police would later say. Instead, investigators began focusing on someone Gigi knew, a 16-year-old boy she had been talking to for weeks. And buried inside phone records, surveillance video, witness statements, and messages was a warning that now sounds terrifying. Gigi had told a friend that the boy threatened to kill her if she became involved with someone else. This is the tragic case of Giovanna Gigi and Steve Allen. On July 7, 2026, life in the 6100 block of Tallis Road appeared ordinary. Gwynn Oak is a Baltimore County community where neighbors described the area as quiet, a place where children walked outside, and serious violence was unusual. Inside one home lived siblings Gigi and Steve Allen. Gigi was 15 and attended Western High School in Baltimore. Steve was only 9 and attended St. Casimir Catholic School. Their family would later remember them for their love, laughter, and beautiful spirits. Their favorite colors were black and yellow. That Tuesday, the children's parents were away from home. According to investigators, Gigi was communicating with a close friend during the afternoon. The friend later told police that Gigi had been talking with a boy named Keith for several weeks. Court records would identify him as 16-year-old Keith Maurice James Jr. According to charging documents, Gigi and Keith had been communicating through FaceTime before meeting in person. Police say they met at Gigi's home on July 4th, just 3 days before the killings. During that visit, Gigi reportedly FaceTimed a friend. The friend told investigators that Keith could be seen holding a handgun while he was with Gigi. That detail would become significant after what allegedly happened next. The same friend told detectives that Keith had made a disturbing statement. According to court documents, he allegedly told Gigi that he would have to kill her if she became involved with other boys. Investigators later searched Gigi's phone records and said they found a message supporting the friend's account. It was a warning that, at the time, may have been difficult for a teenager to fully process. But after July 7th, detectives would examine every word. At approximately 3 p.m. that afternoon, the friend said she spoke with Gigi again through FaceTime. During that conversation, Gigi reportedly said Keith was supposed to come to her house around 4 p.m. That gave investigators something critical: a possible meeting, a location, and a narrow time window. Police began reconstructing the movements of the person they believed had gone to the house. Investigators obtained surveillance footage from the surrounding area and public transportation routes. According to charging documents, video showed a person matching Keith's description traveling by bus toward Gwynn Oak, walking through the neighborhood, and later leaving the area. Investigators also noted another detail. The person seen leaving approximately an hour later appeared to be wearing different clothes. Cell phone data added another layer. Police said phone records placed Keith in the area around the time the siblings were killed. Detectives combined that digital evidence with surveillance footage, witness statements, ballistic evidence, and statements Keith allegedly made during questioning. Meanwhile, no one inside Gigi and Steve's family knew what they were about to discover. At roughly 7:20 to 7:30 that evening, their mother returned home from work. What she found changed the family forever. She called 911. Police and emergency responders rushed to the home. Inside, officers found both children suffering from fatal gunshot wounds. Steve was found in a bedroom. Gigi was found in the hallway. Both were pronounced dead. For a community accustomed to relative calm, the scene was almost impossible to comprehend. One neighbor later recalled hearing horrific screams and seeing a woman emerge from the house bent over in grief. Police Chief Robert McCullough described the deaths as tragic and said investigators would use every available resource to solve the case. Initially, police released few details. They said the shooting appeared to be an isolated incident, but they did not publicly identify a suspect. Detectives collected evidence, reviewed cameras, examined phone information, interviewed witnesses, and tried to understand who had been inside the house. Days passed. Gigi's school community mourned. Western High School offered counseling and support to students and staff. Steve's school remembered a child whose smile and presence had touched those around him. The siblings' family asked for privacy while grieving.
Church bells sounded outside St. Casimir Church in Canton as family and friends surrounded the caskets holding the bodies of 15-year-old Gigi Myrie and 9-year-old Steve Allen.
On July 21st, 2 weeks after the killings, relatives, classmates, friends, and community members gathered at St. Casimir Church to say goodbye. Guests wore black and yellow in honor of Gigi and Steve's favorite colors. 2 young lives were being remembered, while detectives continued working behind the scenes. Then, the next day, police announced a major development. On July 22nd, Baltimore County Police arrested Keith Maurice James Jr., 16, of Baltimore. Authorities charged him as an adult in connection with the deaths of Gigi and Steve. Police said Keith knew both victims and had been inside the home before. Chief McCullough confirmed that investigators believed there was some kind of personal relationship between Keith and Gigi, although authorities did not definitively characterize it publicly as romantic. Charging documents offered a clearer picture of why detectives focused on him. There was the friend who said Gigi had been speaking with Keith for weeks. There was the July 4th FaceTime call in which the friend allegedly saw Keith with a handgun. There was the alleged threat about what would happen if Gigi became involved with another boy. There was the message investigators said they recovered from Gigi's phone supporting that threat. There was the July 7 conversation in which Gigi reportedly said Keith planned to visit at 4 p.m. There was surveillance footage allegedly tracing a person matching his description toward the house and away from the neighborhood. There was cell phone data investigators said placed him nearby, and police said there was ballistic evidence and information from Keith's own statement to detectives. Taken together, investigators believe those pieces formed enough probable cause to charge him. Keith's defense attorney urged the public to reserve judgment, emphasizing that his client is presumed innocent unless proven guilty. That distinction matters. An arrest, charge, or indictment is not a conviction, and the allegations still must be tested through the court process. On July 23rd, Keith appeared by video in Baltimore County District Court. He remained held without bail. His attorney also sought to have him transferred to a juvenile facility, but the request was denied. Days later, on July 27th, a grand jury indicted him, moving the case into Baltimore County Circuit Court. Reports said he faced 2 counts of first-degree murder along with weapons-related charges. Yet one of the biggest questions remained unanswered publicly. Why? Police had evidence they believed connected a teenager to the home, but authorities had not announced a definitive motive. They were also investigating how a 16-year-old allegedly obtained the gun. Chief McCullough used the case to raise concerns about teen violence, access to firearms, and troubling behavior inside young relationships. The warning at the center of the charging documents is especially difficult to ignore. If someone threatens violence, even in language that sounds possessive, jealous, or exaggerated, It should never automatically be dismissed as teenage drama. For Gigi's family, however, this case is not simply about evidence, charges, or court dates. Year-old girl who should have had years ahead of her. It is about her 9-year-old brother, whose childhood had barely begun. It is about parents who left home expecting to return to their children and instead walked into a nightmare. And it is about 2 siblings whose family asked the world to remember their love, laughter, and beautiful spirits, rather than only the way they died. As the criminal case continues, Keith Maurice James Jr. remains accused, not convicted. The evidence described in charging documents represents the prosecution's allegations, and the defense has the right to challenge that evidence in court. But the tragedy itself is already permanent. On a quiet street in Gwynn Oak, 2 children went from planning an ordinary summer day to becoming the center of a homicide investigation. A phone call scheduled for 3, a visit expected at 4, a mother home around 7:30. And between those moments, something irreversible happened. Gigi Myrie was 15. Steve Allen was 9. Whatever eventually emerges in court, their names deserve to be remembered beyond a headline. Because behind every case file are people. Behind every piece of evidence is a life. And behind this investigation is a family still learning how to live without 2 children who should have come home to another tomorrow.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Robert McCullough of the Baltimore County Police Department. I'm here with County Executive Catherine Klossmeyer and County Councilman Julian Jones. This evening, we'd like to announce that we've made an arrest in the July 7th homicide involving Giovanna Myrie and her brother Steve Allen. If you remember back on that date, the homicide occurred in the 6100 block of Tallis Road, in which the brother and sister were murdered. We have arrested a Keith Maurice Jones Jr., who's 16 years of age, who has an address in West Baltimore in Baltimore City. He was taken into custody early this morning by Baltimore County detectives when they served a search warrant and an arrest warrant for him. He's charged with the homicide of both victims. Right now, what we can tell you is that this individual was known to our 15-year-old victim and also to her 9-year-old brother. He's right now being held at Baltimore County Detention Center with bail denied. With that, I'll next have County Executive Catherine Klossmeyer speak, and then Councilman Jones, and then I'll step back up and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. I just would like to say how sad a day like today is, and please keep the families in your prayers. And I am so happy with not with the results, but I am so pleased that the police department did such a great, quick job to this part of the whole situation. So thank you, police officers, if you're in here, and thank you, Chief, very, very much. So thank you.
Again, I'm Councilman Julian Jones. I am just taken back by the fact that young people at the age of 16 years old will not only have access to a gun, but have the propensity to actually murder someone and murder 2 people. So this is an absolute sad day for all of us here in our community, in our country, that this type of violence takes place and is being perpetrated by young people. But at the same time, I want to thank our police department, who work extremely hard each and every day to have a very, very high clearance rate in Baltimore County. I've said it before, I said it again, we can't stop random acts of violence, but just trust and believe that when these violence is perpetrated here in Baltimore County, we will not leave any stones unturned before we make an arrest and take that person to justice. So thank you so much.
And once again, I like to reiterate what the county executive and the councilman said. We can't say enough good things about our detectives and our investigators, and that also includes our crime lab and the people who work in our crime lab for the great work that they did in this case. From the very beginning, we were very diligent and we pursued the suspect in this case. I know it took much longer than I wanted it to. However, we had to make sure that we put together a very airtight case, considering the age of the suspect in this case and with recent changes in law in the state of Maryland. We had to make sure that we did our work the right way, the way that we always do. This case also highlights for me a couple issues. One is juvenile violence itself, just violence by juveniles on other juveniles. And it also highlights a point that as parents, we need to make sure that we know who our kids are associating with. We also need to make sure that when we go to work or we go out of the house, that we know who are coming and going in our homes, especially who are with our kids when we're not around. And the final issue is just dating violence, teen violence, between people who have relationships. So we need to be mindful of those things. And with that, I'll take questions. Kyrie?
Yeah, so the rifle, what you just said, forgive me if you mentioned it earlier, can you confirm that the 15-year-old was dating Jones or dated them at one point? Was it an ex-boyfriend or a current boyfriend?
What I can say is that we knew that they knew each other, that there was some type of friendship or relationship there.
Any idea on what Jones's motive may have been?
At this point, we do not have any confirmed motive for the reason he did it.
And what led investigators to Jones? How were you all able to track him down?
I can't go into all those details right now. Much of that will be in the charging document. You'll eventually, I'm sure, have access to the charging document. But what I'll say is excellent police work. We utilize all technology, everything possible. I've said it before. One of the great things is that our administration and our county council have invested in the police department, invested in the infrastructure of Baltimore County. You can't go anywhere and not be on camera in Baltimore County. You can't go anywhere and not be seen.
Will he be charged as an adult? Can you tell us the charges?
Yes, he has been charged as an adult. I don't have the charges in front of me, but I know that that one of the charges at least will be, murder. He was charged with homicide.
You said it took you longer than you anticipated to make this arrest, but yet the arrest came. The murder notwithstanding, how troubling was this case for you and police?
I think if you go back and look at the video from that night, I didn't even realize it till I looked later. I mean, how troubling it was showed in my face and my demeanor that night. It's troubling when you consider how horrific this crime was carried out. It was terrible, and when you reflect on the fact that a child who had just turned 16 carried out this crime and did it in the manner and the way that he did, it's troubling.
And in terms of, I know it's an ongoing investigation, we can wait for the charging documents, but if you could share what you can, in terms of, you mentioned that parents should know, or something you said about their children and their dating. How long had they been dating, and what was the nature really of that relationship?
I don't have any information as it relates to that. I can't confirm whether they were truly dating or whether they actually just knew each other, but I knew they were known to each other and they had some type of relationship.
Last question here. The 9-year-old. He was there. He obviously wasn't dating the boy. Why the 9-year-old?
Well, I mean, I can only speculate that he was a witness. He was an innocent bystander, and he was the result of everything that went on or transpired that day.
Was this teen suspect known to police prior to this? Any, past situations with law enforcement, that kind of thing?
With Baltimore County, I don't believe so. Yeah, I mean, of course, in the beginning of the investigation, he came to our radar and was one of several suspects in this case, and we were able to determine that he was the one that carried out the crime.
Are you able to talk a little bit about the circumstances that led up to the shooting? Had he been in the home, had he been spending time there before the shooting took place, or?
All I can say is we do know that he had been at the home before, maybe even several days prior, that we can confirm, at least on, to our knowledge, July 4th, that he had been at that location.
I was told by neighbors that there was a big party too on July 4th at that location, so, was he known to the parents, too? Like, the parents knew who he was and everything?
I can't confirm that, but it's possible that he was known to them.
Chief, a quick follow-up. You mentioned that that night you were very confident by saying, we have a suspect. We have a suspect. Did you know that night that he was the one you were looking for? Let me rephrase that. What led you to him?
I will say that we had a belief that there was a definite suspect. We didn't have a definite identity, but we had an idea of who it might have been. And basically, we followed the evidence. We utilized all the technology that we had available to us. We utilized witness statements to us. We utilized everything that was made available to us to lead us to this suspect.
Chief, obviously, this sent a lot of shockwaves through the community. The funeral was yesterday. This really had a lot of people, you were emotional about it, impacted us as well. What do you say to the community tonight, now that you have this big break in the case, this arrest that happened, what do you say to the community tonight that, may still be, still is shaken up by all of this, just on the human side of things?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, my heart goes out to the family and friends of the victims. Like I said that night, 2 lives were lost. These are lives that will never be realized, a brother and a sister. What I would like to say to the community is that Baltimore County is still a great place to live, work, and play, and to raise your children, or for your kids to go to school. These things happen. They happen everywhere across our nation. They rarely happen in Baltimore County when you consider, we have a population, of about 850,000 people, and on any given day you have well in excess of 1 million people that travel throughout this county and come here and work. And all of last year we had 28 homicides. And as of this point, we're halfway through July, and we only have 12 homicides this year. So it's a great place to live. It's a place that's safe to live. The real issue is the number of guns that have proliferated our society, the availability of guns, to need to make sure that we lock up our guns in our homes. But we want people to know that Baltimore County is safe. We want the citizens and residents of Baltimore County to know that they can depend on their police department when something happens, that the incredible men and women that work in the Baltimore County Police Department will respond, and we will catch our suspect.
I just want to reconfirm, you said he will be charged as an adult, at least 2 counts of murder.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Do you know how he got access to a gun?
No, we do not.
Was he caught on camera? Leaving the house and that kind of thing, Chief?
I would say that he was on camera in several ways throughout the community.
That night.
Say again?
That night, because I know you said he'd been in the area.
He had been in the area prior to the crime, and of course he was in the area after the crime. Any other questions? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chief.